Welcome everybody, my name is Christian and today I'm going to be going over the officer upgrades for both the Empire, the Rebel, and I'm going to start out with the Rebels today. There's 6 different officers currently between waves 1 through 4, and the one that I like the least is Walix Blissex. He's 5 points. He's useful for particular ships, but again, he's a discard, and you can see my bias in other ones. I don't usually prefer discards. He could be useful on Abdumission since you're already getting rid of dice, and that way you can get it back. But for 5 points, he's just kind of situational, and I'd rather spend those 5 points someplace else. The next one is 4 points, and he's LANDO Calrissian. I really wished that LANDO had a better card. It's 4 points, it's a discard, again my bias, and it allows you to re-roll 1 or more dice of your choice when you're being attacked. It could help you survive one more strike, but just that one last one. Again, he's probably pretty good on an Abdumission or another one that's getting up and close, and it just has to survive one last time before it can do its shot. But for 4 points, I just don't see him as nearly as useful as some of the other ones. So the next one I have is TORYN FARR. She's actually pretty useful, and maybe over time I'll move her up as I get to play with her more. She's particularly useful on carriers or near carriers. In that way you can make your fighters be extra deadly. So that way you can re-roll 1 blue dice. But this also counts against other ships. She's relatively expensive, but it has to be distance 1 to 3. She's pretty good for 7 points. I would definitely include her in some of my builds. Number 3 I have as Leia Organa. This is particularly useful for new players in order to give out that navigate command before you fly off the universe. For more experienced players, I'll probably lower her even more, but since this is for everybody, this is trying to be kind of general, this is a pretty good commander to put on a 1 command dice ship, and then that way you can change the commands of other ships. Number 2 is TALLON. He's 10 points, so he's pretty expensive, but he allows squadrons to have an additional activation even after they've been activated by a squadron command. This is particularly useful for heroes. That way you can have them use their increased attack power twice, or if he's on salvation, maybe even 3 times. So he's definitely a pretty good one, but very situational. Number 1, in being ahead by a mile, is RAYMUS Antilles. He's 7 points. Every rebel fleet should have him. He increases the power of every command. He's an engineering team. He's a hangar bay expansion whenever you want it. He gives you a reroll when you want it. He allows you to increase your speed and your tack and yet still have the command token in reserve. He's great. If it's a carrier build, it's great if you have projection experts and you're going to be spamming a lot of engineering commands. He's a great card, and for 7 points, he can do great stuff on any ship, as well as those that have Tantive 4 in order to give out even more tokens. So that's the end of the Rebel leaders that I find particularly useful. The next are the Imperial ones. So the one that I feel is the least useful is Director Isard. She's 3 points, and she allows you to reveal all the command dials of one enemy ship. It's only 3 points, but it's not that big of a deal of knowing what your opponent is going to do, because they're going to do it anyway, and a good player should probably be able to guess what the best command would be. It's kind of situational. Maybe other people enjoy it, but I definitely don't. So number 7 is Agent KALLUS. He's 3 points, and you get to add 1 die of any color to your attack pool, 1 attacking a unique squadron. Now this could be useful if you have a really strong anti-carrier build, but there's a chance that they won't even bring a unique squadron, or they'll just move them to a different ship of whatever he is on. I don't see him as all that useful. He just becomes a deterrent, so maybe you want to put him on a ship that you want to have more protected against squadrons so that they would just avoid it. But otherwise, I don't really like it all that much. Number 6 is Captain Needa. Captain Needa is actually pretty useful, but it's only on particular ships, either the Victory or the Interdictor, depending on how you're going to fly it. But having that evade is only going to be useful for a short while, because you want to get up close and use those red and blue dice or those black dice. So he's useful in certain ships for 2 points, but I don't see him as being particularly useful. Number 5 is Admiral TITUS. So at the start of the round, you may change one enemy ship's speed by 1. So what's interesting about this is that this is very circumstantial as well, but you can either speed them up or slow them down. So you can either try to have them hit an asteroid or hit their own ship and then just get 2 damage just from that for only 2 points. Also, if you have a certain objective, like contested outpost or something like that, you can go ahead and make it even slower for them, or fire lanes. You can just really disrupt their maneuverability just by having these 2 points. So, I like them. Next is Admiral CHIRANEAU. Sorry about that. So, he's 10 points, so he's relatively expensive. And it's very good for a dedicated carrier. So this way, when even your ships are engaged, they can move as if they had a speed of 2. This is good for your bombers if you want to get them past the A-wings or the X-wings that have them bogged down, and be able to move and be able to go ahead and attack that ship. He's maybe not as useful ever since Dengar has been introduced, because that way it makes the ships around you heavy and you can move anyway. But this is still a pretty good way of doing it. And you can pair this with Corruptor and have a speed of 3, even if they're engaged. The next one that I like is ADMIRAL. So it's 5 points, and it counts ships moving at speed 3 as obstructed. This is particularly useful if you're going to keep your speed up and have it be on either your Raiders or your Gladiators. It's 5 points, and you can make that ship much more survivable if you keep your speed up. Number 2 is Wolf Yavarin. I really like him. He's 7 points. He's essentially the Imperial equivalent of Antilles. He allows you to, whenever you spend a command token, you get that same one back. So you can just recycle an engineering or a navigate or a squadron command. Just make sure you get yourself an initial token on that turn 1 or from Tarkin, and you'll be able to keep on using it. Now, number 1 I have as the new card, Commandant Aresko. It's 7 points, and when another friendly ship distance speed 1 to 3 reveals a command, you may exhaust this card and gain 1 command token of that same type. So he's very much of a Yavarin, where you can actually just absorb these extra tokens. This is very useful. It's flown in formation with other ships, particularly the Interdictor, where you could actually flip him over and be able to gather 2. Ships with a higher command value, you'll be able to use more of them. So I see it as very useful. So that's all for the Imperial and Rebel one.